Tales of love.
This is nothing personal, but I must have your soul.
Tonight our city bleeds red, blue, and green. As I walk in the dark of the sea, I thought greatest eyes threatened. The colors in my heart have faded gone. They're gone, they're gone, all gone.
There is no limit to Electro's potential.
Girl looks to the stars and dares to dream of the world she'd make her mind see. Stands up in my mirror, staring back. I realize that girl is gone. She's gone. She's gone. I'm gone.
Electro has many uses. Watch and learn.
Cut every mountain, made it smooth. That's how I had it all sold. I thought traded tomorrow for my life and found the price too high. The clock is ticking, counting down to naught. I'm out of time, waiting to stop. I'll build my life before it's lost. The final line cross.
These are some new Pokemon games that will come to the Switch too. So first of all, this one's pretty obvious, but I think we're going to get Gen 10 on the Switch too. Followed up by Gen 10, I think we're going to be getting Pokemon Black and White 3 and then a Legends Unova game like a Legends Kyurem. After that, I feel like we're probably going to get some type of, maybe like a Let's Go Johto. Then I could see us getting a Legends game for either Alola, Kanto, or Johto. These are some new Pokemon games that will come to the Switch.
Here's 17 reasons why you shouldn't buy crypto, and if you do own crypto, maybe think about selling everything. Bitcoin's just digital, yeah, so you know these power outages that have happened across Europe this week? Well, just imagine if they happen on a wider scale, what's going to happen to Bitcoin? Well, first of all, isn't all your wealth and money already digital? So in that scenario, everything stops. Bitcoin doesn't need a central server to keep going. There's no single point of failure. So, you know, when the power comes back on, Bitcoin just restarts again within minutes. Traditional finance, though, does rely on centralized backup systems. So after the power outage this week in Europe,
The notion that a person's ability to survive is tied to what they can produce for the machine is frankly absurd, and I refuse to accept that we draw breath for 80 years just to spend most of our waking adult life at a job. It's not that I don't understand that labor is part of life or that we need certain roles to be filled for the functioning of society. And it's not that I'm not a good worker, because I really don't mind labor. But of the almost 10 million species on this planet, only one is doing life this way. And I don't think it's because humans are exceptional. I think we're just doing it wrong. And it wasn't always this way. Indigenous cultures across the globe had entirely different and better ways of existing. This is a uniquely modern Western problem, and I hate that for us. Many believe humans are the most intelligent of the sentient beings on this planet, and if that's true, I'm a little disappointed, but I'm not without hope. There was a time in my life when, immediately upon waking up, I hated that I had woken up at all. But after watching others living happy, free lives on this platform, in a few short years, I think I may have become one of them. And I did it through labor, so I absolutely understand the value of work, which is why I believe it should be preserved for the betterment of our world, not to mindlessly flail through our short individual lives while making a few people wealthy along the way. Every organism has a role in the series of intertwined ecosystems that pass energy and resources from one being to the next in an endless loop of reuse, and humans are part of that cycle. We have an essential role within the earthly ecosystem as stewards of the land. We're meant to utilize the capabilities of our human form to tend to the earth and her inhabitants, and to treat them kindly in return for the resources the earth freely provides and her wisdom that guides our steps. Of course, two things can be true. It's true that there is a much better way of being, and it's true that our current society doesn't function that way, and we still have to find a way to get by. Running off to the woods has been a beautiful experience, but my bills followed me here. So I don't have all the answers, but I'm happy to share how I make this little life work.
I'm watching the ripples on the pond. See if I can show you.
Back in Philly, I worked in nonprofit performing arts, doing marketing for an orchestra and later a university arts program. I have a degree in marketing, but coming out of school, I knew helping some companies sell products to the masses wasn't the path for me. But I had played a few instruments growing up and loved music, so working in the arts felt more fulfilling, even if it didn't pay as well as a corporate job. On the side, I managed social media for a food tour company and would also take on freelance marketing and writing gigs. So when I was planning to move to New York, I was looking for work related to land and farming, and to my surprise, I found a communications job with a nonprofit that offers resources for small farms. And this was a really great way to learn more about farming and the new community I was in. I eventually left that job for a nonprofit land project further upstate, but in the first few weeks, 4 employees had left the organization, so I had a sense that my time there might be short-lived. Anyone who's worked in the nonprofit sector knows how unfortunately exploitative they can sometimes be, especially for smaller or new organizations, and sadly that was the case with both of these. But by the time I decided to leave the second organization, I was under contract on my property, so I knew my expenses would be decreasing in the near future, and that made me feel more comfortable with my decision, especially because I didn't have another job lined up. A silver lining of these jobs is that I got to work alongside some really wonderful people and walked away with some beautiful friendships and really helpful connections. And at the end of the day, that first nonprofit is the job that got me out of the city, so I'm forever grateful for the role it played in getting me here. After this, I transitioned to part-time, contract, and seasonal work, often having multiple jobs at once. I haven't had a full-time 9-to-5 since, but there were times I was working more than 40 hours a week across different jobs. And I liked the flexibility of being able to let the job go if I decided it wasn't working, or to be able to take on seasonal jobs knowing I wouldn't lose all of my income when it ended. But even before I was transitioning through these different phases of jobs, I was closely tracking my expenses and working to minimize them. I used a spreadsheet to track my monthly bills and continually set goals for where I wanted it to be in the future, and just kept working towards those benchmarks. After leaving my last 9-to-5, Lowe's was my first job, and I actually worked there twice. I desperately needed a break from the responsibilities of my previous roles, and also wanted discounts on things I needed for the land, but it ended up being beneficial in other ways. I worked as a merchandiser, so unlike the red vest sales positions, I had a set schedule and weekends off, which was important to me so I could reliably plan for work on the land each week. And even though I've always been handy, I didn't have any real experience building things, so being up close with tools and materials was really useful. And if you happened to be working when items were deeply discounted, you could get first dibs. I paid $35 for a $250 grill, and the $300 sink that will be going in my kitchen had been a display and was going to be thrown out, so I got it for free, even though they weren't actually supposed to let me have it. That said, working for large corporations with billionaire CEOs that don't pay a livable wage and prefer products go to the landfill instead of giving them away directly conflicts with everything I believe. So I probably wouldn't work there again, but it served its purpose at that time in my life. I've been able to continue supporting local farming, land stewardship, and food sovereignty work, but not in the capacity of a full-time job, and that has made the work much more sustainable. And I've had a slew of other jobs in the meantime. I did admin and marketing work for a local brewery. I worked a market stand and did packing and driving for local farms. I worked in the kitchen of a family-owned bakery and did fulfillment in a warehouse. I also have friends with farms who periodically pay for extra hands, so I also do that when it comes along.
Imperials.
Why are you milling about like a pack of slack-jawed mongrels? Form a line! Now! Finally. I come before you today to deliver an announcement of the highest import. So listen well. While on a charitable mission to Isari village, the acting viceroy and her personal guard came under attack from Confederate forces. This brazen, unconscionable act cannot and will not go unanswered. As loyal subjects of the Empire, who enjoy her safety and prosperity, you have a duty to defend her as well. There is no cause for alarm. We have no intention of sending ill-trained fodder to the front line. Those who are selected will be expected to perform rudimentary tasks, cleaning and maintenance and so forth. You will serve only as long as you are needed. Afterwards, you'll be free to return to your homes. You first.
The Empire has no pressing need of cleaners. This is but a thinly veiled attempt to intimidate those who supported the Confederacy's actions, and isolate any whose loyalty they already suspect.
And lastly, you. That should suffice for now.
Don't worry, I will be back before you know it. Listen to the elders while I'm away, and do not play outside the village. Everything is going to be fine. I love you, all right? Remember that I love you.
We thank you for your cooperation. Rest assured that this will all be over very soon, once the Confederacy has been made to pay our own ruby tithe.
There's no telling what might happen to those people. We have to help them.
And we shall, but before all else, we must needs ascertain their destination. I doubt this is the first village the Garleans have visited, nor is it like to be the last. I will track these men. Will you help me? Pray return to our headquarters and tell the others what you saw here. Should we have need of reinforcements, I would know that they are ready.
But I should be going with you. I came here to fight!
Soon enough, Lys. Soon enough. For now, we must proceed with caution.
I know that. I do. It's just... when I saw them rounding those people up... Look, if anything happens, anything at all, you'd better call for us. I mean it, Yugiri. Anything at all.
Yo, 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 yo. Pinky no sake wa ba-da ba-da-da da-da ba-da-da.
Especially in the entertainment section stuff, whether that be games, movies, books, any of that. If you want to, it's like, I want you to imagine your favorite thing in the world. Your favorite piece of entertainment in the world. Whatever it is. In my case, we're going to use Chrono Trigger because Chrono Trigger is my second favorite game of all time, and it is my favorite RPG ever made. Now imagine you make a video talking about that favorite thing. And in that video, you do nothing but say positivity, you praise and gush about this thing, how it changed your life, and it did all these positive things for you and helped you understand the world better, and it is a source of positivity, and you hold it very deeply to your heart because it means a lot to you, right? I can say all that about Chrono Trigger. It literally changed my life and like made me realize how important games are to myself. Without question, there will always be somebody that comes out of nowhere, usually under some rock or a sewage system, some dank, just stupid place, that will just tell you you're wrong, or do every single thing in their power to shit all over anything that you like. There will always be someone that does that, no matter what, on anything that you make. It does not matter how positive you are about the thing you're talking about. Someone will always come out of the woodwork to just try and shit on what you have to say and anything that you like. It just happens, and it will happen. If you can handle that, you should be pretty good for content creation. If you cannot handle that, then this shit's not for you, because it happens constantly, all the time.
All the time. Wahoo! Gaston Nirvano. Tenaga. Yeah? What's up?
Solo runs in video games are very cool, but do you know what else is very cool? This thing right here. So without further delay, let's get into it. Now the first thing I need to do is inherit every skill from all my previous runs of the game, all of which I've used Lysithea in. But you're probably thinking to yourself, 5 points in a run like this isn't using New Game Plus kinda cheap, and while normally I would agree with you, please consider the following. So now that you've taken a moment to consider that Lysithea wasn't really meant to take hits, especially on Maddening mode, which is what this is a Maddening mode Lysithea solo run, Alright, so we're gonna Wrath Advantage Chapter 1, so while that's in the background, I just thought I'd lay it down for you. Okay, so Lysithea will be the only combatant, the only one to do combat in this entire run. I will use dancers, so I did set Hilda as my adjutant for this chapter, since some things in Three Houses are just more convenient that way, and it's consistent with all my other solo runs. Like if you watch my Mathis stuff, or my Lex solo that I streamed that one time, I always use dancers. So as long as Lysithea does all of the actual things, that's fine. Same with Gambits. 2, this isn't just a solo run. I am going to try to get every class skill I physically can, and also max out every weapon rank, and also cap magic. This is not only gonna be the Lysithea solo, ladies and gentlemen. This is gonna be the best Lysithea solo you've ever done seen. This is gonna be the best Lysithea, period. And with that, with the way I sped up the footage, well, actually, like, comment, and subscribe if you like what you see. I'm doing this video a lot more fast-paced. I already provided actual content before I said like, comment, and subscribe. Usually I do these long-winded intros, but seriously, if you like my channel or anything, I have other videos. Mathis, if you like solos, there's Mathis. But yeah, like, comment, blah, 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 blah. This will get more interesting than Wrath Vantage. I do some funny stuff with gauntlets later on. And with that, this should be the prologue where you beat up Hannah Mae and Manuela and everyone else. So one thing we need to address immediately is the capped magic goal, because normally Lysithea's capped magic is 86, and with the goddess statues, that's like 91, so usually this is a very unobtainable thing, so we'll have to use everything in our power to do it, and what's in our power to do it? Well, the yellow flowers, but we don't have access to the yellow flowers yet, so what do we do in the now? Well, if you go inside the amiibo gazebo, and you reset, you can soft reset to get stat boosters, and I, in the early game, farm very frequently for stat boosters. I won't show you, like, footage of it. I'll show you me doing it just this once, and during the end-of-month reports, and you'll ask yourself, like, oh, how did her magic get that big? She only got, like, 1 level this month. Well, there you go. I did this. If we're getting to 91 magic, folks, we gotta employ all of the cheap methods. For the first few months of teaching, I focused on swords, so she can unlock Soul Blade or whatever it's called, a magical combat art that uses swords. And as you can imagine, a magical combat art with Lysithia's magic stat would be good. I try to start off the chapter pretty conservatively, you know, just try to take on one enemy at a time because Lysithia isn't, you know, bulky yet, so... and getting into Vantage range right now is very hard, you know, Wrath Vantage since he only has 22 HP. So if she, like, doesn't cross the line and then she gets hit by the next hit, she just dies. But that doesn't really work out since that means all those guys come down to where Cloud and Bylethar, which is obviously a no-go. So eventually I just have to charge her forward and pray on a miss in, like, the first turn. Now, Wrath and Vantage is cool, but there's something that's actually even harder to get and is actually necessary to clear this consistently, which is Defiant Crit. So, like, you need to be below 25% HP, and at base Lysithia, that's, like, 4 HP. So I had to, like, choose a specific battalion, so she would have the exact amount to live on, like, 1 or 2 HP, which luckily I had access to because New Game Plus, but still. Because you're probably noticing that her magic isn't high enough yet, even though I farmed, like, a Spirit Dust in the Amiibo Gazebo. Like, still not high enough to one-shot. We'll reach that point eventually, but for now, we really just have to rely on these crits if we're gonna get anywhere. But eventually I do get the right amount of health, so that just lets me charge forward. And it's actually cool that since I got it to level 5 in Chapter 1, or like whatever you want to call it, Month 1, I was able to expand double her spell slots. So like usually a frustrating part of training her in this chapter is that, oh, she only has a couple, like she's not level 5, so she doesn't have access to a magic class, so she can't use a lot of magic. It makes Lysithia very frustrating to train in the early game, but since we bypassed that by making her level 5 before this, this gets us all the magic we need for this. In a chapter that's coming up, that won't be enough, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And she's able to kill Kostas pretty quickly, and let's look at how she is by the end of this month. After escorting our 15-year-old mass murderer through some definitely haunted areas, we hit the grind. Now, an important thing to note about grinding in this run is that you've noticed that Lysithia is level 9 by now, and the enemies aren't going to scale to her level since she keeps going up and up and up, and obviously since we're on Maddening, that means the EXP will diminish even further. So how will we consistently level her up? Well, if you have all 9 turned on, you can go to those little golden circles on the map and gain a certain percentage of EXP every time you visit one, and it doesn't scale. You'll always get like the same percentage of EXP, which is how we are going to consistently get Lysithia levels in this run. And these appear on main maps too. I just thought I'd point them out now on the grinding map since they pertain to EXP. As for the chapter itself, I'm afraid, ladies and gents, that I really don't have much to report because, you know, I'm just one unit moving through the land, going on my adventure, do Lysithia, and then Thunder Catherine's like, nope, I'm gonna actually kill everyone on the whole map, so I'm glad I grinded this month, otherwise Lysithia wouldn't have grown that much. Like, if you see the footage, I was barely even able to get to Lord Lonato on time. If there wasn't, like, another unit in range there that Catherine went after, I don't think I would have even been able to get him. So, you know, again, this chapter... it's still a Lysithia solo since Catherine is a green unit, but I can't say that Lysithia had to work very hard this chapter, and here's how she is by the end of the month. Since she's level 12 now, I can start getting, you know, a lot of the classes, and I'll need to get all the classes to get all the class skills later, so I may as well start working on that now. As for teaching, now that she has Soul Blade, I decided to focus primarily on lances, mostly because I think it'll be impossible to train her in them in part 2, since the enemies get so much stronger and there's no, like, Levin Sword or Bolt Axe or, like, Radiant Bow for lances, so for the entirety of part 1, I really try to get lances to S+. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for, may I humbly present the funny. No, but seriously, this is a pretty simple chapter. Once the Death Knight doesn't death me, you know, it's in the name, I go up the left route, since the left route actually has Spirit Dust, which gets us, you know, 2 closer to our goal of 91. Now that I think about it, 91 might actually be the highest stat in the game, period. If you're a Three Houses freak, I guess let me know in the comments, because I don't know. You think I look up other characters in this game besides Lysithia? Anyway, so I go up the left. I do have to keep Byleth and Claude out of range of the reinforcements a bit. They kind of get sandwiched, so I do have to kind of worry about that, and I do get a bit cocky with the boss. Remember, I want to get my Lance rank up. I want to get it really up, all the way to S+, so I try to, you know, do that on the boss, but oh no, I get crit, and I die, and you can see me just trying to get Lance rank any way I can here. Because, you know, with Mastermind, it should be smooth, even though Lysithea hardly gains any EXP in it, because, you know, it's, I want to say it's called a Bane in Three Houses, where you don't learn it fast, but anyway, yeah, I do end up just killing the boss with magic, and that is that. But of course, here's how she looks after this month's training. I unlock tea parties this month, which is very important since you can use them to raise your unit's charm stat. However, Lysithea doesn't feel like doing them for the entire month, so I guess we'll just put that off. I should note that on grinding maps I alternate between Byleth and Claude for adjutants, because, you know, there's that Hunting by Daybreak map that's very hard, so they need to be not terrible combatants for that. Like, that's going to be the one time this isn't going to be a Lysithea solo, since she's literally not in that map at the start. And also, it's good for reclassing, like, in a paralog that's coming up, I'm going to want Byleth to be a flyer, and, you know, so on and so forth. This month, I also finally unlock yellow flower seeds, which is very, very important because you put them in the greenhouse, and what do you get when you put them in the greenhouse? You get +1 magic stat boosters nearly every time. It's not +2 like the amiibo gazebo, but that means I don't have to waste, you know, 20 minutes of my life at a time resetting in the amiibo gazebo until I get a spirit dust to, you know, get consistent magic growth. So, at the end of the month reports, you'll probably be noticing a less of a dramatic magic increase, but honestly, it's worth it for the time save alone, honestly, and my sanity. As for the chapter itself, I used the Soul Blade technique to save on magic, which will be really, really important near the end. You'll see, you'll appreciate that I saved my magic uses. But then also Gilbert decides that living is a bad idea, and after I deal with Gilbert's failure, I move on to one of the yellow experience circles that lures over an archer, and once you know it, attracting that archer causes every single, well, almost every single enemy in the chapter to move, which means Lysithea has to do some tricky maneuvering to actually deal with all this nonsense. Plus there's the ambush reinforcements, and some of the enemies use gambits. It's a real heck of a time. I'm sure you're seeing it now, but in the end, we walk up to McClellan, punch him, and then the fun thing happens. Luckily for me, when McClellan turns into a beast, if you go down beneath his area, he actually won't attack you, and because I, new gamed Plast and got my white magic to +1, I can actually, as you're seeing, just kind of snipe him from outside the range, just kind of tick at him, and I think I actually come down to only one Sephraim left, and that's, the one that's effective against monsters, and I think I was kind of out of most of my other magic since I just had to defeat all of those enemies, so learning Soul Blade really came in handy this chapter to deal with those first few enemies. So yeah, that's nice. But also I would like to point out that in the cutscene, because I didn't skip all the cutscenes in this, I wanted to see Three Houses' story again in case I want to form an opinion on it for a video later or something. But in the cutscene, Claude or someone says, "Oh, he's gone feral. He doesn't recognize anyone anymore, blah blah blah." But he doesn't kill that white mage, his healer, and you know what? That makes me think, that Claude's either stupid or the writers are stupid. You can pick. But anyway, so we deal with that, and here's how she's looking by the end of this month. This month, Lysithea actually feels like attending tea parties, which is very, very good, which means I can slowly but surely increase her charm, and if I'm making the best Lysithea possible, even though I really only want to cap a magic, that's my goal, may as well get as many stats as you can. Speaking of magic, my agricultural efforts are going very, very well now that I'm starting to get premium magic herbs, which of course, as I said earlier, will increase Lysithea's magic by 1 every time I get one. As for the chapter itself, there's not really too much going on here. I mean, it's just your usual Wrath Vantage stuff. Like, I don't need to really conserve on magic, there's not that many enemies, but I would say I'm actually punished for doing a solo run in this chapter, unlike the other chapters, because I can't actually get the move ring. Because, what am I going to do? I'm going to warp someone there and they're going to beat the enemy guarding it? No, because then it's not a solo run. Duh, idiot. But also, last chapter and this chapter, we're starting to reach a critical mass where her magic is now so high that I don't really even need to rely on crits to deal with these guys anymore. Like, Fire Emblem solo runs, if you've, watched my Mathis and my Lex runs, at first they started super sucky, because the game's not balanced around that, but eventually they get so much EXP, and all the stat boosters where it's like, tink, 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 the enemy's just like, oh, what do? They just one-shot us. So we're starting to reach that point in this run, and with all that being said, here's how she's looking by the end of this month, so you can see her magic for yourself. Of course, the next phase in my master plan is to defeat Lorenz's Twitter rival in order to obtain Lysithea's birthright. And of course, there's no better way to obtain one birthright than by using another birthright. So let's see that in action.
Leave it to me.
are you? I'd appreciate it if
You're in my way! There's still a long way to go.
Right you are, Lysithea, but at least now we've got the thing. Also, this month I noticed that Cyril will just, like, straight up stare at Lysithea from behind these bushes. So, you know, ladies and gentlemen, you know, you really have to wonder what's going through, Cyril's head here. As for the Battle of the Eagle and Lion, I decided to show off Lysithea's new powers in full force. One, she reached level 20 during her training, so she can become a Dark Flyer, meaning she can fly and use magic. Thank you, Koei Tecmo Intelligent Systems, for just not having that be in the base game like it was in Awakening. You could kinda say it was in the base game in Fates like it was a path bonus, but like most people bought all the paths anyway, so like it's kind of a base class if you like stretch the definition a little bit, but no, in Three Houses they were like, nah, pay if you want to fly and use magic. Which, you know what, I did. I don't even like Cindered Shadows, but like that's besides the point. To show off the new power, I immediately just go cook Bernadetta, go to the right, cook the Blue Lions, they're all killing each other, doesn't really affect me, one touch Dimitri, go to the left, one touch Edelgard, and of course, ladies and gentlemen, oh, can't forget I showed off Fires too. I sniped Bernadetta earlier from a very far away. I don't even need the range up skills anymore. So I go and I fight Edelgard, fun in the sun, and then of course I experience every Fire Emblem Three Houses player's favorite thing in the world, missing against Petra into immediate death. Luckily though, with some divine turn wheels, we managed to recover, and here's the end of the month report. This month I got two very important tools in the form of the Experience Gem and the Knowledge Gem, from both Manuela's and Byleth's chapters. During both their chapters, I of course just made Manuela and Byleth flyers so they could just go screw off into a corner somewhere, but the Byleth chapter actually came very, very close because of the flying monster reinforcements. I of course had to make Byleth and Claude retreat, so like by the time I was gonna hit the final boss, they were like one turn away from being snapped out of existence, so that was actually very tense. As for the chapter itself, it's kind of business as usual now, you know, Fyrus, Darkflyer, Wrath, Vantage, get them all. However, there was a very funny interaction, like, because I'm doing this with one unit, it obviously takes longer, right? So Geralt and Solon actually got to fight, which usually doesn't happen. So, like, right, it turns out they can't kill each other. If they try to fight each other, they'll just tink each other down to 1 HP, and their battle will be infinite. Truly, they're both gods among men. And of course, here's the end of the month report. Now at this point you're probably thinking to yourself, alright 5 points, I've seen that you can beat a level with Wrath, Vantage, Thyrus, now show me something real, show me something juicy. Well, remember, earlier in the video I said I really want to get my Lance rank really high up before the end of part 1, and Lysithea's strength is so big now that I can actually do damage. Now, you probably saw some of the end of month reports and were like, okay, her defense jumped up like 10 stages at once, her strength jumped up like 20 stages at once. Is this guy hacking in stat boosters? No. So how it works is, since I got her level so high, I could get the advanced classes sooner, and what you do is if you reclass into a class, they have like a minimum strength and a minimum defense, so you can actually like have it be tolerable, and that just tolerable in that class, I mean, and that just transfers over to your base stats. So like between two end of the month's reports, you were wondering, okay, her defense is what now? That's how it got that way. So now, since we're at such a point where I've given her stat boosters, I've given her classes that automatically increases her strength and defense, it's like, okay, now it's on. Even though still, like, for a skill in this map I had to equip, you know, weight -5 and darting blow, because her strength still isn't that big. She's still gonna get weighed down by things. But yeah, this is the Setith and Flame Paralog, and I equipped a class I hadn't mastered yet, and I have the Knowledge Gem equipped. I've been grinding in maps where it's like, okay, because she has Mastermind and the Knowledge Gem, in just one grind map, not even a Paralog like this, just one grind map, she can master classes. You're gonna see at the end, because this is gonna be like part 1 of 2, since like, I don't got all the time in the world, like how many classes she's mastered, and it's gonna be like a lot. It's gonna be most of them. And with that, this has been the Setith Paralog, so let's get on to the actual chapter. So experienced Three Houses players probably actually know that Geralt really loves dying on this chapter. He'll just charge headfirst into the monsters and die, so I employed a combination of, you know, Flame and Hilda to just rescue, and then Dance Flame, and then just get him out of there. And of course, Lysithea was going around the map, just boom, 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 killing all those monsters, but it still came very, very close. He almost died. Like, if Lysithea was just like a tile off or like a turn off, he would have killed himself. So now that we've extended all that effort to protect Geralt and save him from these beasts and stop ourselves from getting a game over as a result of his death, let's check out that mission end cutscene. Well, he's gone, but hey, at least we're still here to give end of the month reports. As for this month, do the usual magic and charm increasing exercises, and actually I do get a lot done in terms of grinding this month. Now that I have the knowledge gem, of course, Lysithea's personal skill mastermind, as I said, one grind map equals one skill, so you can see here I do Thief, I do Cavalier, I do Dragon Rider, and you can actually see that by the end, I actually master all the classes, well not I, she, Lysithea masters all of the non-DLC classes that also aren't the level 30 classes. So that's a very, very good milestone. As for the chapter itself, it's kind of easy once you deal with all the enemies that are up front. You can kind of just fly and go like boop Kranya, and then you get your turn back. However, we do run into something very unfortunate, as even with a stride from Byleth, she's just one range off from hitting Solon, so like Byleth will just get annihilated and attacked, which breaks the rules of the run. So we're just gonna go up and pray with all my heart that Solon attacks first, and once you know it, he does, ladies and gentlemen. He actually does attack first. That's always an annoying thing. Like in Conquest, if you get Takumi down to like 10 health or whatever, like 5 other guys attack before him. Like I think all the top half guys attack before him, but not the bottom half ones that are actually near him. So it's always an annoying thing when it's a kill boss map and they don't attack first, but luckily that ain't a problem here. And so, here's how she is by the end of the month. This month, however, I learned some very, very, very interesting information, ladies and gentlemen. Why don't you believe me here? Okay, so I was just doing my class skills, for the DLC classes, and I find out that this class called War Cleric is actually the only female class that has, the skill that boosts Gauntlet by 5 attack. And I'm just having the time of my life, punching people out with my spike dress. Like, I don't know what the dress is, like it's like a wireframe, but it's got like spikes on it near the end, and it's just so cool, and it lets women punch people, which is something I've been wanting for a while. Like in my only Black Eagles run, I made Bernadetta a boxer. So ladies and gentlemen, I have a dream. I need Lysithea to punch Edelgard. It's not a hope or a solitary dream. I need to. It's like a hunger. Edelgard. So I equipped Deathblow to give her punches some extra, punch, deal with the rest of the enemies as you normally would. I let actually all the Creststone guys get away because, hey, ladies and gentlemen, just hey, what are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do? They take the Creststones, and the rewards kind of suck anyway. I mean, you get a knowledge gem, but you already get one of those anyway, and it's only a one-person run, so it's not actually like I needed to in the first place. And with that, here we go.
You wish to interfere? Then you're lost.
Too slow.
So, the end has come.
Is this some sick joke? The Flame Emperor is actually Edelgard?
And just like that, Edelgard can consider herself punched. And of course, here's the end of the month report. This month I finally bust out the DLC items because, to be perfectly honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, to be perfectly honest, even though Claude is level 25 and I've been using him
at that design, dude. Oh. To the 7th grade, the yarn has two sides, kills you and kills you. Hope you like it hot and sandy, chat.